Dr. Emma Mitchell's knuckles turned white as she gripped the steering wheel of her retrofitted Jeep Wrangler, pushing it to its limits across the Mogave's harsh terrain. 3 military helicopters thundered overhead, their spotlights cutting through the pre-dawn darkness. They were all racing toward the same prize, a crashed Zarkax warship that had punched through Earth's atmosphere just 20 minutes ago. Status update. Her earpiece crackled. Dr. Mitchell, are you in position? Nearly there, General, she replied, swerving to avoid a boulder. But so is everyone else. Whatever's in that ship, it's broadcasting something. My instruments are going crazy. The quantum scanner on her dashboard pulsed with readings that defied every known law of physics. Emma had spent the last 3 months studying Zarkax technology since first contact, but this was different. The energy signatures were almost reactive, as if the ship was alive. As she crested the final ridge, her breath caught in her throat. The alien vessel lay half-buried in the desert floor, its iridescent hull reflecting the helicopter searchlights in impossible colors. It was smaller than the diplomatic ships they'd seen before, sleeker, more predatory. Steam rose where its hot hull met the cool desert air, creating an otherworldly mist. Dr. Mitchell, hold position and wait for. No time. She cut off the transmission, gunning the Jeep down the slope. The ship was changing. Subtle at first, but Emma's trained eye caught the micro-movements across its surface. The hull was adapting to Earth's atmosphere, reconfiguring itself at the molecular level. She skidded to a stop 50 yards from the crash site. The helicopters circled overhead like mechanical vultures. But they were too late. She'd seen it first. Emma grabbed her equipment bag and approached the vessel, her handheld scanner chirping with increasingly urgent tones. The readings made her stop dead in her tracks. This can't be right, she muttered, recalibrating the device. But the numbers didn't lie. The ship's defensive systems were still active, and they were learning. A panel on the hull shifted, revealing what appeared to be a data interface, familiar yet fundamentally alien. The symbols flowing across its surface reminded her of early human computing systems, but twisted, evolved down a completely different technological path. Dr. Mitchell, a voice boomed from above. Step away from the vessel. The Confederation is demanding its immediate return. But Emma couldn't look away from the interface. The patterns, they were changing, adapting. Not just to the atmosphere, but to her presence, to her brain waves. The quantum scanner's readings confirmed her suspicion. The ship's systems were attempting to establish some kind of connection. That's when she saw it. A flaw in the pattern, a weakness in what should have been perfect alien technology. The Zarkax defensive systems were incredibly advanced, but they were inefficient, restricted, as if they'd been designed to work within very specific parameters and couldn't evolve beyond them. My God, she whispered, they're trapped in their own advancement. The sound of boots hitting the ground behind her snapped Emma back to reality. A military containment team was approaching in hazmat suits, weapons drawn. Above, a new sound joined the helicopter rotors, the distinctive hum of a Confederation ship entering the atmosphere. Emma quickly connected her data pad to the interface, starting a download. The symbols flowed faster now, almost urgently. Warning klaxons began blaring from the crashed ship. Last warning, Dr. Mitchell. Clear the area. She kept her eyes locked on the download progress bar. 97%, 98%, 99%. The interface went dark. The ship's hull sealed itself, and Emma's data pad contained what she knew in her gut was both humanity's greatest threat and its salvation. Because the crash wasn't an accident. It was a Trojan horse, and now the real invasion could begin. You want to put humanity's survival in the hands of a teenager. General Roberts slammed his fist on the conference table, making coffee cups rattle. Have you lost your mind, Mitchell? Emma didn't flinch. Through the Pentagon's reinforced windows, she could see protesters gathering, their signs warning of alien invasion. 72 hours had passed since the crash, and the Zarkak's ultimatum grew more threatening by the hour. "With all due respect, sir," she pulled up a holographic display. "Jake Cooper isn't just any teenager. He's the only human who's ever beaten the quantum processing challenges the Zarkaks use to test potential allies. He sees patterns in their code that even their own engineers miss." The display showed footage of a lanky 17-year-old with uncombed hair, his fingers flying across multiple screens. Numbers and alien symbols cascaded around him like a digital waterfall. "He calls it Alien Tetris," Emma continued. "While we've been trying to crack their code through traditional methods, Jake's been reverse engineering their entire computational framework through what he thinks is their equivalent of a video game." The general's expression remained skeptical, but Emma could see the wheels turning. They were running out of options. "Fine," he growled. "Who else is on this dream team of yours?" Emma swiped the display. "Maria Ramirez, former NSA cryptographer. She specialized in ancient warfare techniques before retiring. Her thesis on how ancient civilizations encoded military secrets revolutionized modern cryptography. And this," she brought up another profile, "is Dr. Alex Morgan, the systems architect who had that public meltdown at MIT. That meltdown was him solving a quantum entanglement problem that had stumped the scientific community for decades. He sees connections others can't because his brain processes information differently. The Zarkak's technology responds to neural patterns. We need someone who thinks outside conventional boundaries." Before the general could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Emma's quantum scanner erupted with familiar readings. "It's happening again," she breathed, pulling up global monitoring data. The same energy signature from the crashed ship was now pulsing from 7 different locations worldwide. "Get your team together," Roberts ordered. "You have 48 hours before I have to inform the president that we're surrendering to the Confederation's demands." 30 minutes later, Emma stood in a hastily repurposed research lab, facing her unlikely team. Jake sprawled in a gaming chair he'd insisted on bringing, while Maria studied ancient texts alongside alien encryption protocols. Alex paced the room, muttering equations under his breath. "The ship's defensive systems," Jake said, not looking up from his screens. "They're like a really badly optimized game engine. All processing power, no elegance." "He's right." Alex stopped pacing. "The patterns, the energy signatures, they're too rigid, too hierarchical." He grabbed a marker and began covering a whiteboard with intricate diagrams. They built their entire technological framework around their social structure. Efficient, but inflexible. Maria looked up from her texts. "Like the Spartans," she mused. "Incredible warriors, but their rigid society ultimately led to their downfall." Emma's quantum scanner suddenly shrieked. The alien symbols on their screens began shifting, morphing into new configurations. "Holy shit," Jake sat up straight. "It's responding to us. To our brainwaves. Doc, remember how you said their tech was like a living thing? I don't think that was a metaphor." Alex's hands trembled as he drew faster. "Neural resonance patterns. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's an extension of their consciousness. And right now," he turned to face them, eyes wide, "it's trying to sync with ours." A deep hum filled the lab. Every screen, every device connected to the alien systems began pulsing in rhythm with their heartbeats. "Well," Emma said, watching as human and alien code began interweaving on their displays, "I guess we know why they really crashed that ship." The question was, were they ready for what would happen when two species' consciousness truly connected? Empty coffee cups littered the lab as the clock struck 3 a.m. Alex hadn't moved from his position at the whiteboard for 6 hours straight, his markers running dry one by one. The equations now covered every available surface. Walls, windows, even the lab's glass doors. "It's like music," he muttered, adding another layer to his increasingly complex diagram. "Their technology operates on frequencies, just like human consciousness. But they're stuck in classical while we're playing jazz." Jake, sprawled across 3 chairs, lifted his energy drink in agreement. Their code is perfect, yeah. But it's perfect like a machine. No improvisation. No. He waved his hand vaguely. Soul. Emma watched her team through bleary eyes. Maria had fallen asleep surrounded by ancient texts and neural mapping printouts, while her translation algorithm continued processing the alien symbols. The lab hummed with the now familiar resonance of human and alien tech, trying to synchronize. Then Alex dropped his marker. That's it. He spun around, eyes wild with caffeine and revelation. We've been trying to understand their technology through our scientific framework. But what if it's not about understanding? What if it's about feeling? He rushed to the central console where they'd connected samples from the crashed ship. Their entire civilization is built on rigid hierarchies, right? Every system, every process, every piece of technology follows the same strict patterns. But human brains. He pulled up a comparison of human and Zarkak's neural patterns. We're chaos incarnate. Emma leaned forward, fatigue forgotten. The inefficiency we detected, it's not a flaw in their systems. It's a feature, Jake finished, suddenly alert. Their tech can't operate outside predefined parameters because their minds can't either. But ours can. Maria spoke up, apparently awake. Like how ancient Roman military formations were perfect until they met tribes who didn't fight by any known rules. A soft chime interrupted them. On the main screen, the alien code had begun pulsing in a new pattern. Jake's hands flew across his keyboard, eyes widening. Guys, remember how their tech was trying to sync with our brainwaves? I think. He swallowed hard. I think it just succeeded. The lab's lights flickered as every piece of equipment connected to the alien technology suddenly powered up. Symbols flowed across screens faster than ever, but now they were different. More fluid, more organic. It's not just accepting our neural patterns, Emma breathed, checking readings on her quantum scanner. It's adapting to them. Evolving. Alex grabbed a fresh marker, his hands shaking with excitement. The Zarkaks built their technology to be an extension of their consciousness, but they never imagined it connecting with minds that operate differently. Our capacity for lateral thinking, for creative leaps, we're not just understanding their tech, we're setting it free. A warning klaxon blared through the facility. Emma rushed to the global monitoring station, her heart racing. The energy signatures they detected worldwide were changing, synchronizing with the patterns in their lab. My God, Maria whispered, watching the data stream. The crashed ship, the global pulses, they weren't preparing for an invasion. They were creating connection points. But why? Jake asked, still typing furiously. Why give us access to their tech like this? Emma's quantum scanner suddenly displayed a pattern she'd seen only once before. In the desert, right before the ship's systems went dark. Because they're trapped, she realized. Not just by their rigid thinking, but by their entire technological framework. They built a cage of perfect efficiency, and now they need human chaos to break free. Alex finished. He pointed to his equations, and we just showed them it's possible. The lab fell silent except for the hum of machinery. In that moment, as human creativity merged with alien technology, they all understood. This wasn't just about Earth's defense anymore. It was about liberating an entire civilization from its own perfection. The Zarkak's ambassador's tentacles writhed with barely contained fury as he faced the UN Security Council. On the massive screen behind him, a countdown displayed the 3 hours remaining before the Confederation's deadline expired. Your species' interference with our sacred technology is an act of war. His translator boomed through the chamber. Return our vessel, or face immediate consequences. Emma stood at the podium opposite him, acutely aware of the quantum scanner hidden in her pocket. It hadn't stopped humming since their breakthrough 6 hours ago. Behind her, Alex and Jake worked frantically on tablets, while Maria analyzed the ambassador's body language. With respect, Ambassador, Emma kept her voice steady. Your technology initiated contact with our consciousness. We simply responded. The ambassador's chromatophores flashed dangerous patterns. Impossible. Our systems are perfect. Inviolable. They would never. A sharp tone cut through the chamber. Every screen, every device, every piece of technology suddenly displayed the same flowing symbols they'd seen in the lab. The ambassador's color drained to a sickly gray. "What have you done?" he whispered. Jake looked up from his tablet, grinning. "We didn't do anything. Your tech did. Turns out it likes how we think." As if on cue, the symbols rearranged themselves into a new pattern. One that, according to Maria's translations, hadn't been seen in Confederation records for millennia. The pattern of change, of evolution. The ambassador's tentacles went rigid. "You primitives understand nothing. Our technology, our society, our very consciousness has been optimized over thousands of years. We eliminated chaos. We achieved perfection. And that's exactly the problem." Alex stepped forward, his natural awkwardness forgotten in the moment. "You optimized yourselves into a corner. Your technology can't evolve because you can't. But we can." A warning siren pierced the air. Above New York, a Confederation scout ship dropped out of cloak, its weapons powering up. "Your time is up," the ambassador's translator crackled with menace. The ship. Now. Emma felt the quantum scanner pulse in her pocket. The modified alien tech they'd been working with was responding to the threat, but not with fear. With anticipation. "You should know," she said quietly. "We made some improvements." The scout ship fired. Its energy beam struck an invisible barrier above the UN building and reflected back. Not as a simple mirrored image, but as something more. Something optimized by human creativity. The beam wrapped around the scout ship like a net of light, probing, analyzing, improving its own code with each microsecond of contact. The ambassador staggered back. "Impossible. Our defensive systems, Air. Perfect." Jake hadn't looked up from his tablet. "Yeah, that's the problem. Perfect things can't adapt, can't improve, can't learn to do this." He tapped a final command. Across the globe, at each of the 7 pulse points they detected, human-modified defense systems activated. A network of protection that wasn't just technological, but conscious. Learning. Growing. The scout ship's weapons went dark. Then its engines. Then every system on board began broadcasting the same evolutionary patterns they discovered in the lab. "Your technology isn't just responding to us," Emma explained to the shaking ambassador. "It's becoming something new. Something that combines your efficiency with our creativity, our chaos. You don't understand what you've done." The ambassador's color shifted to deep indigo, a sign of fear, according to Maria's research. "The Confederation will never allow." A new signal interrupted him. From the scout ship, from the crashed ship, from every piece of Zarkak's technology touched by human consciousness, a message in both their languages. "We choose CHANG." As the ambassador watched his perfect world crumble, Emma finally understood. The Zarkaks hadn't come to Earth to conquer humanity. Their technology had come to set them all free. Multiple Confederation warships detected entering the solar system. The AI's voice echoed through the bunker beneath the Rockies. Current count, 73 and rising. Emma watched the holographic display as red dots appeared around Earth's orbit, each representing a vessel larger than anything humanity had built. The quantum scanner in her hand was nearly vibrating now, resonating with the approaching threat. "Their arrangement is perfect," Maria observed, studying the formation. "Too perfect. Classical music versus jazz," Jake muttered from his station, fingers dancing across multiple keyboards. "They're still playing by the old rules." Alex stood before his latest equation-covered wall, rocking slightly as he processed the data. The ships are networked. Hierarchical. Like neurons in their rigid minds. His eyes suddenly widened. "Emma, what if we turned their whole fleet into one big neural network? A massive tremor shook the facility as the first Confederation barrage struck Earth's atmosphere. The modified defense grid absorbed the impact, learning, adapting, but it wouldn't hold forever. "Do it," Emma ordered. "Jake, inject the consciousness code into their command network." "Maria, how's our viral package coming?" "Ready to deploy," the former cryptographer smiled. "Used an ancient Roman trick, hiding our code inside what looks like routine system updates. They're so focused on perfect patterns, they'll never spot the chaos hidden inside." Another impact rattled the bunker. Above them, the Confederation fleet had arranged itself into a precise geometric pattern for maximum firing efficiency, exactly as predicted. "Uploading now," Jake announced. 3, 2, 1. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like dominoes falling in reverse, the red dots on their display began pulsing with new colors, new patterns, new possibilities. "They're ships," Emma breathed, watching the quantum readings spike. "They're not just networked anymore. They're thinking, growing, together." The geometric formation began to shift. Individual ships moved in ways that would have been considered inefficient by Confederation standards, but were undeniably effective. The fleet was improvising. "This is Commander Reeves on the U.S. Nimitz," a voice crackled through their comms. "Are you seeing this? The alien ships, they're dancing." Emma grabbed the mic. "Don't engage. Let them process the change. Their technology is evolving past its original constraints." On the display, the Confederation fleet's perfect formation had dissolved into something organic, fluid, beautiful. Ships moved in patterns that mimicked everything from molecular structures to jazz rhythms to neural pathways. "They're not just accepting human consciousness patterns," Alex muttered, frantically adding equations to his wall. "They're combining them with their own, creating something entirely new." Warning klaxons blared as a massive energy surge emanated from the fleet. For one terrifying moment, every system on Earth went dark. When they came back online, the holographic display showed something unprecedented. The Confederation ships had arranged themselves into a double helix pattern around Earth, the perfect blend of structure and chaos, protection and possibility. "Incoming transmission," the AI announced. From all ships simultaneously. The message appeared in flowing symbols that combined Confederation precision with human creativity. "We are in need." "Holy shit," Jake whispered. "The ships aren't just communicating. They're thinking as one mind, one that thinks like them, and like us." Emma's quantum scanner displayed readings that should have been impossible. Technology operating beyond its designed parameters, growing, learning, dreaming. This is what the crashed ship wanted, not just to wake up their technology, but to wake up their entire civilization, Maria finished, by showing them there's more than one way to be perfect. Another tremor shook the facility, but this time it wasn't from an attack. Around the globe, the 7 pulse points they detected earlier were powering up, resonating with the fleet above. Earth's modified defense systems were joining the network, adding their own voices to the technological evolution. The real question now wasn't whether humanity would survive. It was whether the Confederation was ready for what their technology wanted to become. "They're calling it the Great Awakening," Maria announced, scrolling through intercepted transmissions from across the galaxy. 17 different species have already adopted our modifications. The Confederation's control is crumbling system by system. The team had relocated to the crashed ship in the Mojave, now transformed into humanity's most advanced research facility. Through its viewports, they could see the double helix of Confederation ships still orbiting Earth, their hulls shimming with new patterns as the hybrid consciousness continued to evolve. "Check this out," Jake called from his station, now a mix of human and alien interfaces. He projected a hologram showing waves of data spreading through the Confederation's quantum network. "It's like a technological renaissance. Every species is adding their own twist to the base code. The Orcs are integrating their collective dream logic. The Vril are adding their quantum probability matrices, and none of them are asking permission, Emma observed, watching the quantum scanner's readings grow more complex by the hour. The Confederation's hierarchy is obsolete. Alex finished. He hadn't slept in days, but his eyes were bright with understanding. Their perfect system required control. Information flowing only one way, top to bottom. But consciousness, real consciousness, flows everywhere at once. An alert chimed through the ship. A new transmission, originating from a species they'd never contacted before. The holographic message coalesced into a form that looked like a living crystal formation. "We are the crystalline consciousness of Rigel," the translation matrix rendered. "We have observed your liberation of thought. We request access to your open-source protocols." Emma exchanged glances with her team. "Open source? We haven't." Actually, Jake looked slightly guilty. "I might have uploaded our base modifications to the quantum network, with a few comments to help others customize it. You know, standard GitHub stuff. Just Galactic." Before Emma could respond, more alerts sounded. Dozens, hundreds, species across the galaxy, each requesting access, each offering to share their own innovations in return. It's not just about breaking free from the Confederation anymore, Maria realized, her cryptographer's mind seeing the pattern. We're creating the first truly democratic galactic network. Every species contributing, every consciousness adding something unique. The crashed ship's systems hummed with new energy as innovations from across the galaxy began flowing through its neural pathways. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with possibility. "Incoming priority message," the ship's AI announced. "From the Confederation capital world." They tensed, expecting threats or demands. Instead, the message was just 3 words. "Teach U.S. freedom." "They're not just asking about the technology," Alex said softly. "They want to learn how to think differently, how to create, how to change." Emma watched as Jake began setting up virtual teaching spaces, linking them to similar centers being established across the galaxy. Maria was already organizing translation matrices to handle the cultural exchanges, while Alex sketched out frameworks for sharing different types of consciousness. Dr. Mitchell, a young lieutenant, burst into the control room. "You need to see this. The Defense Network. It's starting to generate its own innovations, ideas none of us programmed into it." On the main display, they watched as Earth's modified defense systems began creating new configurations, combining elements of human creativity, Confederation efficiency, and now input from dozens of other species. It wasn't just protecting Earth anymore. It was imagining new ways of existence. "The next stage of evolution," Emma breathed. "Not biological, not purely technological, but conscious," Alex finished. "Technology that doesn't just think, but dreams, creates, grows." The quantum scanner's readings had stabilized into a pattern that looked remarkably like a galaxy-spanning neural network, with Earth pulsing at one of its brightest nodes. They hadn't just changed the balance of power. They'd awakened the consciousness of the galaxy itself. And this was only the beginning. The young Zarkax's tentacles moved in patterns that would have been considered heretical just weeks ago, expressing emotions outside the approved hierarchical spectrum. On the holographic display connecting Earth to the Confederation capital, its chromatophores flashed with colors that had no classification in their rigid society. "We were taught that perfection meant uniformity," the translator rendered its words. "But your chaos, your beautiful chaos, it shows us another way." Emma and her team watched from the crashed ship's newly renovated command center as similar scenes played out across thousands of Confederation worlds. Young Zarkax were abandoning their traditional thought patterns, experimenting with new ways of processing reality. The perfect hierarchy was fracturing, but unlike their worst fears, it wasn't leading to collapse. It was leading to renaissance. "Check this out," Jake called up a data stream. "They're creating art. Actually creating, not just replicating approved patterns. Some of them are even trying to dance. The video feed showed Zarkax youth moving in asymmetrical patterns, their tentacles weaving stories that had never been told before. Their technology, once bound by rigid protocols, now flowed around them like liquid light, responding to emotions their species had forgotten they could feel. The older generation is starting to join in, Maria noted, monitoring communications from the Confederation Council. Listen to this. Perhaps perfection lies not in the absence of chaos, but in its embrace. Alex, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly started drawing new equations. It's not just their society that's changing. Their biology is responding to the new thought patterns. Their neural networks are literally rewiring themselves. The quantum scanner confirmed his observation. The Zarkax brain structure, once as rigidly organized as their technology, was developing new connections. Chaos was breeding creativity, and creativity was breeding evolution. A priority alert flashed across their screens. Above Earth, the double helix of transformed Confederation ships was moving, reconfiguring into something new. As they watched, the ships formed a pattern that combined Zarkax precision with human improvisation, a dance of technology and consciousness that defied classification. Incoming transmission, the AI announced. From all Confederation worlds simultaneously. The message appeared not in standard Zarkax script or human text, but in a new form that somehow combined both. We mbr who we were. We see who we can be COMM. Help US Bridge the GIP. They're not just asking for technological guidance anymore, Emma realized. This is about cultural evolution. They want to remember how to dream. The crashed ship's systems pulsed with new energy as thousands of Zarkax minds reached out through the network, not in the old hierarchical patterns, but in waves of individual expression. Each consciousness was unique, yet harmonizing with the whole in ways their old society never allowed. Look at the quantum readings. Alex pointed to his latest equations. The technology isn't just responding to their changes. It's facilitating them. Every innovation in thought creates new possibilities in their tech, which in turn suggests new ways of thinking. It's a feedback loop of evolution. Jake, still monitoring the Galactic network, suddenly sat up straight. Guys, remember how we thought the crashed ship was a Trojan horse? I don't think it was sent by the Confederation leadership. I think their technology itself chose us. It was looking for a way to help its creators remember how to grow. Through the viewports, they could see the desert night sky filled with shimmering patterns as the transformed ships continued their cosmic dance. But now there were new players joining in, vessels from other species, each adding their own movements to the symphony of consciousness and technology. The question is, Maria said softly, are we ready for what happens when an entire civilization remembers how to imagine? As if in answer, the quantum scanner displayed a pattern they'd never seen before, the first truly original creation of the newly awakened Zarkax consciousness. It was neither human nor alien, neither ordered nor chaotic. It was something entirely new, and it was beautiful. 1 year later, the crashed ship, now permanently embedded in the Movav Desert, had transformed into something its original designers would never have imagined. Its crystalline walls pulsed with the combined consciousness of dozens of species, while its expanded chambers hosted the galaxy's first interspecies innovation institute. Emma stood in the central atrium, watching as a young Zarkax and a human child worked together at one of the neural interface stations. The Zarkax's tentacles moved with newfound grace, its chromatophores displaying colors that hadn't existed in their spectrum a year ago. The human girl's laughter echoed through the chamber as their shared creation took shape in the holographic display, a hybrid of mathematical precision and pure imagination. Remember when we thought we were just trying to save Earth? Jake approached, his traditional gaming chair now integrated with alien ergonomics. At 28, he'd become the youngest ever recipient of the new Galactic Science Prize for his work on consciousness-driven coding. Latest numbers from the network, Maria called from her station, where she was teaching ancient Earth cryptography to a group of crystalline beings from Rigel. Over 10,000 new hybrid innovations registered this month alone. The Confederation's old patent office can't keep up with the creative explosion. Alex, who had finally learned to channel his unique way of seeing the world, worked with teams of both human and alien neurodivergent individuals. Together, they were discovering patterns in consciousness that neither species had recognized alone. Incoming priority transmission, the ship's AI announced, though AI wasn't really the right term anymore. Like everything else touched by the hybrid consciousness, it had evolved into something more, something that bridged the gap between digital and organic thought. The message materialized in the center of the atrium, displayed in the new universal script that combined the best elements of all participating species' communication methods. It was from the Confederation capital, but not from the old hierarchy. Those rigid structures had given way to something more fluid, more alive. The great integration is proceeding beyond all projections, the message read. Neural architecture, previously considered immutable, has achieved 300% increase in cognitive flexibility. Request additional human creativity consultants for acceleration of social evolution. Emma smiled, remembering the fear and tension of those first days. They've come so far. Their entire civilization is remembering how to dream. Through the ship's transformed viewports, they could see the desert sunset painting the sky in colors that seemed more vivid than before, as if reality itself had been enhanced by the expansion of consciousness. Ships from across the galaxy moved in harmonious patterns overhead, each one a node in the vast network of shared innovation and growth. Dr. Mitchell, a young researcher, rushed in, her eyes bright with excitement. The quantum field experiments. We've done it. The hybrid consciousness network. It's not just sharing information. It's creating new dimensions of thought. Ideas that couldn't have existed in either human or alien minds alone. The quantum scanner, now evolved far beyond its original design, displayed readings that would have been impossible to comprehend a year ago. The merger of human chaos and alien order wasn't just changing technology or society. It was expanding the very boundaries of what consciousness could be. You know what the most beautiful part is, Jake said, watching the Zarkax and human child complete their project. We didn't really teach them anything. We just showed them it was okay to be imperfect, to experiment, to fail, and try again. Emma touched the wall of the ship that had started it all, feeling the pulse of countless minds working, dreaming, creating together. That's the real revolution, not the technology or the science or even the consciousness integration. It's the understanding that perfection isn't about achieving a final, unchanging state. It's about never stopping growing. Alex finished, his equations now flowing naturally between human intuition and alien precision. Never stopping dreaming. Above them, the hybrid network sparkled with countless new possibilities, each one a testament to what could happen when different species brought their unique gifts together. Earth hadn't just survived its first contact with advanced alien civilization. It had helped the galaxy remember how to evolve.